margin, flipping back and forth in battleground states. That's not how this country has ever worked. When the Whigs were in, when we were absolutely 50-50 divided about a core issue, there was a civil war, right? Like we're not a country that has ever behaved like that before. And only I notice, when the machines came in, it's like, oh, who's going to win? Oh, it's this. No, it's that. No, it's that. So I just want to say that's ahistorical. We'll see with paper ballots what changes. But New Hampshire uses paper ballots in many of the reforms that are in our bill. And there's never a question, according to Melissa Blazek, a New Hampshire legislator, there's never a question about who won the election in New Hampshire. So paper ballots, number one. Number two, if there are precincts that want to keep machines, I hope they don't, but if they do choose that option in the bill, the code has to be made public and verifiable by, anyone. So that's number one. That's a huge reform. Number two is voter ID. Crazily, on the left, it's considered racist to ask people to present a valid document saying that they are a U.S. citizen, which is just so insane because you have to present a valid document for applying for credit or getting a mortgage or whatever, showing that you are who you say you are.
Or to buy a beer.
To buy a beer, exactly. So, to get a phone. So that's lunacy. And I'll never forget flying in from Miami to vote in upstate New York. And I walked up to the, person with the voter roll and I held up my ID and she's like, the Democrat was like, oh, don't worry. You don't have to show us that. And the Republican was like scowling. And I was like, I want to show it to you because if I don't show it to you, someone else can say, I'm Naomi Wolf and vote for me, right? So that's insane. And we've got 14 million people. I was just corrected this morning because I thought it was 7 million who have walked in across the border who are not citizens. And in multiple states, including New York State, there are regulations that have been pushed forward to allow them to vote, which is totally a coup, right? If I vote, in France's election and I'm not a French citizen, that's a coup. It means the French don't have control of their country. So the second thing our bill calls for is voter ID that is government issued. The third thing is really important too. I mean, they're all important. Same day voting, right? So that we're not dragging things on and on, make it harder and harder to verify what happened. The fourth thing is no more ballot harvesting. Apparently people have been going to, nursing homes and just, presenting absentee ballots to people in a coma and, or with dementia, and then putting them all together and randomly dropping them in, these hideously unsecured drop boxes or, other bad ways to transfer absentee ballots. Well, our bill makes sure that the elector has to affirmatively solicit an absentee ballot and fill it in and also have a witness whose name and address and signature are also on the absentee ballot. And that if someone delivers that for the person, it can't be a random stranger. It has to be a designated, caretaker or a designated relative that the elector designates to hand over their ballot for them. The fifth, I guess, is I didn't realize this was such a huge issue. It's huge. And, kudos to Phil Klein for explaining it to me. Unbelievably, there are non-profit organizations and other NGOs, non-governmental organizations, engaged in every aspect of our electoral process, moving votes around, counting votes, making sure people get their ballots, targeting certain groups. This is what Zuckbucks is doing. So our bill ensures that literally every aspect of your vote from beginning to end is handled only by officials of the United States government or your municipal or local government. No NGOs. And the NGOs are Soros funded, or as I said, Zuckerberg funded, or on the other side, it doesn't matter. There's NGOs have no business in our elections. And just as an aside, when NGOs like this, when the government wants to do something bad, they offload it to NGOs, right, or something illegal. And this is what happened with the CDC, for instance. Their criminal abuse of medical messaging around harms from vaccines got offloaded to NGOs, and the NGOs tampered with the data on behalf of the government, basically. But they're not accountable, whereas our government officials should be accountable.
Hey, folks, I've got a quick message for you. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of people, myself included, talking about the importance of buying precious metals, gold and silver. But what's really behind that? Is just a thing of, hey, buy this gold, buy this silver, right? Or is there something deeper that we should be looking at? So I recently came across some figures about house prices. So in 1930, the average family home was approximately $4,000. Fast forward to 2023, the average family home is just over $400,000. So you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is it because things have just gotten more expensive? No, it's actually because the dollar has lost 99% of its value since 1930, right? When people talk about the collapse of the dollar or inflation, this is what it means. Now, let's take a look at gold. So in 1930, if you wanted to purchase your home in gold, it would take approximately 200 gold coins. So 200 gold coins would purchase the average family home in 1930, about $4,000. Now, if you, instead of buying a home with that gold or cash, you set those aside, if you set aside $4,000 in cash in 1930, it would be worth $4,000 today. What can you buy with $4,000? Can you buy a family home? No, you can't even buy a crappy used car. But if you set aside $4,000 worth of gold coins in 1930, which is 200 gold coins, 1 ounce coins, that would be worth approximately $400,000 today. And this is the key lesson about precious metals. It's not about getting rich. It's about putting your money into an asset that protects you against inflation and against the destruction of the currency, which is what happens to all fiat currencies, especially now we're in the end days of the dollar. And so that's why it's important, maybe not all of your money, but a portion of your money, a portion of what you have, I highly recommend putting it into precious metals of gold and silver, because what it's doing is it's protecting you. This is an asset that has stood the test of time, not just stood the test of time since the 1930s. We're talking about the rise and fall of civilizations. Gold was used to buy houses back in ancient Rome. It's still around. It's an asset that will forever have its value. So folks, if you want to do this and you need someone that you can trust, there's no person I can recommend more than Dr. Kirk Elliott. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a strong Christian patriot, and he's out to really help people to protect their savings and what you've worked for against the destruction of the dollar, not to mention also protecting it against the dangers of central bank digital currencies. So to learn more about this, go to goldwithseth.com or call 720-605-3900. Again, that's goldwithseth.com or 720-605-3900. Both those places will allow you to set up a quick appointment where you can talk to a wealth advisor that will help get you started on this path.
Voter ID, same-day voting, absentee ballots, no ballot harvesting, NGOs. There has been a practice of targeting certain groups, like, and again, Zuckbucks goes into this, and Facebook is very good for it, right? Like, instead of telling everyone, how to fill out their absentee ballot, or telling everyone in a state or a precinct, where to go to vote, there will be targeting of just people of color or just urban voters, or, and I'm sure the targeting comes on the other side too, veterans or farmers or whatever. Well, this bill ensures that if there's any resources spent on telling people how and where to vote, that it goes to everybody, that targeting certain demographics is not allowed. I think those are the main points. The other points are, I love this one. This is, I think, point number 8 or 9, and I've lost count. So I'll just say that, these are the main points after this one. In many places when you vote, you can't take a picture or film anything, which is lunacy, because I want to remind everyone, by law, every single document that our government, municipal, state level, federal, creates, unless it's classified, which is a narrow carve out, belongs to us. It's a public document. It's not theirs, it's ours. So it's absolute lunacy that you can't record your own vote. You can't record if there's intimidation going on at your voting system, if whatever the system, hopefully not the machine after our bill passes, but, if there's multiple ballots. For instance, Scotland had widespread voting fraud in 2014 that we documented because people were getting multiple blank ballots in certain precincts, right, that were tending a certain direction politically, and they were not allowed to film it. So we were getting all these eyewitness accounts, but no evidence because no one was allowed to document what was happening. There will be none of that. You can document fully everything that's happening. Use your phone, and that's how it should be. All our videos, all our phones should be out from beginning to end when we go through the voting process so that there's a holistic record of literally everything that happens. And then the last thing, probably number 10, is public counting. Back in the day, I loved this, finding out about this. Our election days were civic holidays. And by the way, I do think election days should be days off, civic holidays. I do. Countries that have high voter turnout give people the day off to vote. But not only were they civic holidays, but voting counting would happen on a raised platform or dais in the town square, and every vote would be counted publicly in front of the eyes of all the townspeople. And that's exactly how it should be. So our bill calls for public counting of the vote, observed. And I think those are the main points, but I'm very proud of it. So I guess the last thing I'll say is I'm going on an exhausting tour to any state house that will have me to present this bill. We're funding it ourselves, but we really need help because it'll be expensive. So everyone, please donate to Daily Clout for this effort. And I've already got a first stop in Wyoming, where State Senator Tim Salazar is inviting me to speak to him and his colleagues. And everyone listening, please ask your elected representative to sponsor this bill and invite me to your state house via them, ideally. So I'm not just showing up outside the door, knocking on it. Because we need to get to 50 states before November 4th. Well, this spring, in time for this to be the law by November 4th.
So I've got a bunch of questions, but fundamentally, you understand politics. You've worked in politics and all kinds of jobs surrounding the political sphere. You understand two aspects of it. One is how these things should work, how a bill moves through just the different voting processes, how it gets passed into law, veto, et cetera. So you know that obviously very well. But you also know about the corruption, and you know how difficult it is to get these things done when politicians are bought off, when they're being controlled by corporations, et cetera. So with this, which, I mean, it sounds amazing. It sounds like a dream world. Gosh, if we could only have fair elections, imagine that. But the question is, how can we get this actually passed? Because it just seems like the people that would have to vote to put this in place, a lot of them were put into power because of the corrupt elections. And that's why
Right.
they're in power. And so how do we, with a system that's so rotten, how do you bring this in? And do you think that there's a chance of it actually being passed and being implemented before the November election? Like, what are those odds and how do you see it
Yeah.
happening?
I mean, it's up to everyone listening, because you're right that first of all, a lot of, what has to happen at the state level, right? Because elections are not federally counted, they're counted precinct by precinct. And it's my experience that Congress and the Senate, for sure, are largely thoroughly corrupt. But there are a lot of decent people at the state house level who are not corrupt, or would like to be able to be not corrupt. And the way I put it like that, I'll explain in just a minute. So I am confident that when state senators and assembly people know about this bill, so, all it takes is one sponsor, right? And a majority of votes. And so, as a political consultant, this is what I'm thinking. It's going to be terrible optics if you and everyone listening can help me make this bill famous, it's going to be terrible optics to be the people not voting for it, because why don't you want to clean up the elections, right? And so the power that voters have is the power to say, I'm going, and to tell their elected officials, I'm going to vote for you and put you back in office if you sponsor and vote for this bill. And I'm going to not vote for you and work for your opponent if you do not support this bill or try to block it. So people do have that power. The other thing I want to tell people is, if I'm telling them to just download it as a PDF and then send the PDF to their, state representative, but also send another document, like a Word document that you print out with 50 signatures and names and addresses of 50 people in your community who support this bill, right? And all you want to say is, we will vote for you if you support this bill. We're your constituents, and we will unseat you if you don't. That's all you need to say. It helps to also say, and we'll put signs on our lawns and, give potlucks with your literature if you support this bill. Like, you have to do something for the elected. Believe it or not, 50 names. Okay, this is something really important. I explain this in my book, Give Me Liberty, but I haven't explained it for a while. 50 names of people who vote in off-year elections are very powerful, but only 18% of people bother to vote in non-presidential elections. So, but the point is that the people you're writing to don't know how you voted, but they know if you voted. The fact that you voted is public, and they have those lists. So if you don't vote in off-year elections, let alone, presidential year elections, you don't matter. They don't care. They know that they don't need you because you're not going to vote anyway. If you do vote, it's, 50 such voters are powerful, a powerful lobby for everyone who's in a state assembly, because, the margin of reelection is very thin in most communities. So that's a very powerful thing to send to your state representative. And the other thing you can do is, as soon as we have one person sponsoring it, and I hope Tim Salazar will sponsor it, then the bill, so exciting, gets entered into our digital shareable legislative database bill camp, which is also on dailycloud.io. Once it's there, you can send it through social media. You don't have to send a PDF. You can also share it now through the link, the URL on our website. But when it's in bill camp, you can send it to people that you're asking to sponsor it. And that's public, right? And if they don't, it's public on social media. And if they do, it's public on social media. So that's a lot of pressure that you can put in a good way. And the last thing I want to say, when you said, what are the odds that, we can pass any bill? I guess what I've learned is that when people don't advocate, or don't advocate intelligently the way I just taught you to advocate, like, protesting is fine, but it's not nearly as good as what I just described, then you don't have any voice. And then even good people who are elected, all they hear from is lobbyists, and special interests. But when you are active in the way I described, and you can also ask for a meeting with your elected representative at the State House. You can call their chief of staff. These are public, emails and phone numbers. Ask for meetings, but you've got to say, I've got 50 of your constituents that I'm representing, or 100, but more than 50 who want to meet with you. And you can literally do that, like with your parents group in your gym. You'll find 50 people, nonpartisan. It's a totally nonpartisan bill. Who doesn't want to know that their vote counted in the United States of America? But the more you publicize this bill and this effort, the more people who aren't signed up for it will be on the defensive and know that they will go down, which is the only leverage you've got over them right now for the most part, and not be reelected. And also, the party that is observed as standing in the way of this bill is a party that is going to lose political capital in November in the federal election. So that's my explanation.
That makes sense. So it comes back onto us as we the people. That's really what it
Right.
is.
It's good to know, like, no one teaches people what I just taught you. Like, it's in a book of mine, but it's kind of not it was published a while ago. I need to kind of reissue it for free. But these are kind of in the weeds details, but they're massively empowering to voters. No one explains it to citizens how to be effective in that way.
And I think that there's a reason why we haven't been taught civics and understand how these systems work. And so
Thousands.
for people, because I know a lot of the Man in America audience, they care about the country, they're worried about it, they're active, right? Whether it's sharing content or doing polls or signatures, they're really engaged because they understand that this isn't just another election. They understand this is a coup, and that our country is on the verge of a true communist takeover, and they're motivated. And so I want people, I want it to be so easy for someone to help with this, right? So I'll pull up the website again. I'll put this link in the description below.
Thank you.
It's the video or
And
podcast,
could
so
you
you
do
have
me a
access.
favor?
Yes.
One of those links is the actual bill. If you see on the right hand side, there's a press release. It has the actual bill on it right there. Oh, that is the link. Okay. So you can, also just lift out that actual bill and people can download it.
Okay.
There
So
it is.
where it says download PDF version
Here.
right
Yep.
here.
Yep. There it is. There's the bill.
Okay.
Ooh, so exciting.
Great. So
Sorry.
I will make a link in the description below
Thank
this.
you.
So what we're going to tell people to download the bill, work on getting signatures, get involved. I also want to say, so just dailyclout.io, you mentioned fundraising.
Right.
I think a lot of people used to donate to political candidates. So like,
Pardon me,
let's,
Seth, can I jump in just for a
oh,
minute,
please
please?
do. Yes.
One other functionality at the bottom of what you just shared, there's like Facebook, Twitter, all those icons. It also helps if you share this press release through social media in that way. Just click through there. If you've got
It's right
accounts on
here.
Getter, Facebook, Twitter, you can just automatically share that through social media. Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect.
Sorry.
No, it's great. I mean, it's that thing. We have the tools. We have the tools at our disposal to reach millions and millions of Americans. So I really want to encourage people to help get this out to more and more people, get more bodies behind it, but also just to donate to what you're doing, right? So on your website, in the main header there, there's a donate button, dailyclout.io/donate. And whether it's you or Brian or JJ who comes on, you're assembling this incredible team of people that are trying to save this nation. And I really encourage people to help support your work over there because you're obviously not getting, ad revenue from YouTube and the normal, revenue that comes in to support all the things that
We're
are
blocked
destroying
from
our
YouTube.
country. Yeah, trust me, I know.
Yeah. Um, yes, please. I mean, all I can say is this is very expensive. We already spent $20,000 on the lawyers just to draft it. It's going to be very expensive to go state to state, but I have a record. We have a record of success. We drafted a bill in 2021 called the Five Freedoms Bill. And one of the things it did was get rid of vaccine passports and end emergency law, largely because of that bill being passed in 33 states. You don't have vaccine passports in the United States of America, and you no longer have emergency law in I think almost any state. Maybe New York State is the last one, but it really works, this methodology, and we can do it.
Great.
But
Well,
we do need
Naomi,
your help. Please buy the thing. I mean, donate to the thing.
absolutely. I know you're on the road, you're busy. I appreciate the time you've given me. I just want to encourage everyone to stand behind what you're doing and support you because you and your team are doing very important work. So thank you very much.
So are you and yours. Thank you so much. Take care.
Of course. Folks, as you know, my friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. And he didn't start just by simply creating the best pillow. He created the Giza Dream bed sheets. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike found the world's best cotton called Giza. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. So Mike's Giza bed sheets come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Giza Dream Sheets come in a variety of sizes and colors. Mike's latest incredible deal is the sale of the year. So, folks, for a limited time, you'll receive 50% off the Giza Dream Sheets. You'll receive a set for as low as $29.98. So go to mypillow.com and click on the radio podcast square and use promo code MAN. That's MAN as in Man in America. There you'll find not only this amazing offer, but also deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the MyPillow 2.0 mattress topper, MyPillow kitchen towel sets, and now even flannel sheets and so much more. So call 800-985-8966. Again, it's 800-985-8966. Use the promo code MAN. go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use promo code MAN.